Welcome to the Michigan Kinesiology Alumni Spotlight Series. I'm here with Sid Jensen, who is a 1970 graduate of the School of Kinesiology, specifically in physical education. Sid, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So it's homecoming week, Sid, and why don't you start by sharing your favorite homecoming story?
Well, my favorite homecoming story was, I guess, last year, 2019. I, off the cuff, just invited a friend of mine, actually a roommate back in 1969 and 70. He graduated in 69, and he was doing graduate school like that. In any event, I just off the cuff said, why don't we go back to Michigan for homecoming this year? And he jumped on it. And that's all it took, was just mentioning it. And I mean, he was ready to go. So we planned it and we did it. And we went back to Michigan. And I guess we toured the campus 3-4 times, talking nonstop like that. I did have the opportunity also to see the transformation of the School of Kinesiology building, the old Krause building. That is just an amazing transformation. The renovation is so total; it's unbelievable. And there was a bit of a party following the tour like that, and we had just an absolutely great time, a blast. Really, it was refreshing and energizing.
Yeah, that's great. So your favorite homecoming memory came not when you were there, but after the fact. It's a great memory to have.
Yes, it is. Truly is.
So you were also a gymnast at U of M as well. You were on the 1970 national championship team, and we were also talking. You were an Olympic gymnast, which we could talk a little bit about that. That's very cool. Talk to me about maybe your favorite, just the overall U of M sports memory from maybe when you were back competing as a gymnast.
Well, the IM building for me, as a gymnast back then, the IM building was home. I revolved in and out the doors daily like that. I look back at the facility, and we've been sending pictures back and forth, my teammates from 50 years ago. And the complex, the IM building, golly, it was such a comfortable place to be. It was like an old armchair, really. We had the gymnasium upstairs, and of course there was a wall that divided the gymnasium from the swimming pool, which was on the other side of the wall. And occasionally on co-recreation night on Fridays, they had opened that wall, and oh golly, what a celebration that was. Just had so it was an incredible facility and a very comfortable facility. But I was there during the transition when Chrysler Arena finally came online, and then of course we held our competitions at Chrysler Arena. Prior to that, everything was done at the IM building.
Yeah, talk about it. What it was like to win a national championship for the University of Michigan. Not a lot of people have the opportunity to even compete for a national championship, let alone win one.
Right, and it certainly was hard won. Realize that we were undefeated as a team in dual competitions. My years of competing, 1968, 1969, and 1970. And in those years, 1968, 1969, and 1970, we also won the Big Ten. We never won the national championship, believe it or not, until my senior year. And we won by the skin of our teeth, but we won. And it was quite a celebration. So important, I guess, in our lives that last year we actually held a 50th reunion of the team a year early, thank goodness. I guess because the momentum was going, we decided well, let's just do it a year early. And we did the reunion. I believe there were 12 of us on the particular team that went to Temple University to compete for the national championships. And I think 11 of us competed, and our support team and family that showed up at the reunion was 83 people. 83 people showed up. Yeah, incredible.
That's great. That's neat for you to reconnect with a group that you were so close with so many years later. What was it like reconnecting with them? Were you just able to pick up like right where you left off?
Yes. Actually, everybody had lived their life. We had remained in touch sporadically through the years, maybe every 3, 4, 5, 10 years in some cases. We'd see one another. We'd gather infrequently for competitions that came along to Michigan, like the Big Ten championships or the national championships. We sort of all got together, but everything was sort of sporadic. So it was pretty natural to get together. And of course, the people that organized it, the group that sort of took charge of getting everything together, the hotel rooms and the golf club and that sort of thing. They put some swag together, so everybody had a T-shirt and some chalk for their hands and hand guards from years ago. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. That's great. Earlier, you talked about the transformation of the Krause building. Certainly, campus, kinesiology, athletics have all transformed very much since your senior year in 1970. Talk about that for a second. What is it like to see what athletics and the university and the School of Kinesiology has become over these past 50 years?
Well, during my time, kinesiology really was a new word. It was a new word, and Dr. Ruth Harris, I had her class. This was just a whole new thing, and of course it blossomed, and the kinesiology part of the whole thing just was scattered all over campus. I can remember actually the old IM building, there was an annex to it, and the equipment, we had one room with equipment, basically a tank to measure body density and that sort of thing, and a machine to run on, and a machine to breathe in, and that sort of thing. I mean, and then of course they had some classes, I believe, way back then up on Getty's Road, and I never went to any of those particular classes. I think that was my senior year, and I'd gotten through all my science classes by that time.
Yeah, quite a transformation to see it spread out literally across the entire campus, and now under the roof of this just beautiful building.
Yes, and really the building is so arranged that between classes, I mean, if you're a kinesiology student, obviously you're going to have other classes. I mean, you got your English 123 and all that sort of thing to go to. But the facility just begs to be haunted. I mean, it just begs to be a center, a location, a central point at which you operate during the campus day, in and out. For me, back then, it was the Michigan Union. I was so looking forward to seeing the completion of the Michigan Union. That was my home away from home. I was looking so forward to seeing the completion of that this year, but as it turned out with the pandemic thing, it just was not possible.
Yeah, certainly the pandemic has slowed a lot of things, but we're really fortunate to be able to take occupancy of Krause in the winter. It didn't slow us down that much, so that's good.
No, surprising. Michigan winters are brutal.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I glossed over it earlier, but I want to touch on it for a second. You were an Olympian for Canada. I mean, talk about that for a second, what it's like to mean, you won a national championship and you were also an Olympian for your country. What's that like?
Well, that's quite an honor, actually. I knew that goal was achievable way back when I was a teenager. I guess it was achievable because there were so many organized competitions in Canada and in Montreal in particular. And I could responsibly see myself climbing to the top of the chain of gymnasts that were there, ascending and descending. It was in 1968 in Mexico that I competed for Canada, and it was truly an honor. And the university gave me a semester off, which I had to make up in 1970 during the summer like that. But they gave me the semester off, and I believe there's some sort of a ruling that the NCAA passed that has my name on it that allows gymnasts or allows athletes who compete for their particular country to take that particular semester off and make it up later.
Oh, wow, the Jensen law, huh?
Yeah, something like that. I remember there was something going on, and it came down to the nitty gritty. In the end, I can remember being shipped off to Detroit to the consulate there, and you talk about 6 weeks waiting for a passport. Mine was done in about 30 minutes.
That's great. Yeah. What is it like to come back to school after you've competed for your country in the Olympics? I mean, what did you talk to your classmates about it, your teammates? I mean, what was that experience like?
Gee whiz. I guess it was just sort of accepted. I don't know that it was anything. Maybe they saw it as something special. I don't know. It was just sort of in the course of gymnastics.
Yeah.
I retired really in 1972. I competed in the World Championships. I competed in a couple of Pan American Games for Canada as well. So I got to tour a lot of the world as a consequence. And I retired. When I retired, I retired. I was ready to retire.
You were done, huh? Yeah, that's great. Wow, what a storied athletic career. Now let's talk a little bit about your post U of M time. You graduated with the degree in PE, but from what we were talking about prior to the interview, that's definitely not where your career ended up. So walk us through that path from PE to what turns out to be airline pilot.
Yeah, kind of a convoluted course, but it always involved teaching. I went to school. I had the best teachers, the best professors for education. And they set the example. They set the discipline. They were enthusiastic about everything, and it was a tough course really to emulate. But every turn that I went through, I was always teaching. I started off. I was a graduate assistant at Springfield College. Then I moved on to Central Michigan University, and I was basically replacing the gymnastics coaches that were there. They were taking sabbaticals, so I would take over for a semester like that, and that's really how I got my graduate degree. Wherever there was an opportunity for a scholarship, I jumped at it. And so I got my master's degree like that and applied for a job. I was originally recruited to Miami to start a gymnastics program for the Dade County Public School System. It was a bad time financially for the country, and nobody was hiring. Fortunately, one of my roommates from years ago, we had the same credentials. He was going on to medical school and vacating a position at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And so he recommended me, and I took over his job for that particular year. However, my wife was a graduate of Michigan law and couldn't practice in Canada. My job was a great job at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. In any event, we had to vacate the following year, and we decided that we would follow our dream and head down to Miami. I mean, really, think about it. We had the world to choose from. And in any event, Diane, my wife, got a job right away, and I got a job with the school system, the public school system then. I worked there as a teacher for 3 years and curriculum coordinator for a couple of years like that. Took a sabbatical, started up a business with my hobby. I was a woodworker and did a lot of research in the making of furniture and tried it out on a lot of dealers. They were quite receptive to it like that. Came up with a design and ran with it. As time went, I added more people, and of course was teaching the woodworking trade, including the finishing and that sort of thing. But it was always teaching, and then of course these people got so, my workers got so good they displaced me, and my job became that of marketing, and so I had to be everywhere. We were distributing pretty much throughout the country, and we were distributing unfinished furniture, knocked down unfinished furniture. Anyway, so I had to be everywhere, and so I turned to aviation and fell in love with it, went back to school and got my credentials and as an instructor, as an airline transport pilot, and so on like that. Ended up selling the business because it just got too big for me. Too many hours, and got a job with the aviation school teaching, and became the head instructor eventually in that particular school. Even did the traffic reports for a radio station as a sideline, and ended up being picked up by the airlines because they were at that time pretty hard up for line pilots that had, you know, the number of hours and the experience that I had like that. Ended up teaching for the airline as well as becoming a test pilot to return broken airplanes back to service.
That's great. So teaching is definitely in your blood. What is it from
Yes.
your Michigan experience you think that causes you to be so drawn to teaching?
You know, I don't know that it was the Michigan experience itself, but the Michigan experience certainly finely tuned what my calling was. Gee whiz, even before Michigan, think about it. You know, I was in the gym pretty much every day. And really teaching those people that were coming up behind me. So it was just sort of a natural course, I suppose. As I say, the excellence of the professors that I had was a pretty tough nut to follow, really. They were so well prepared and enthusiastic. I guess I just decided that I was going to emulate, their excellence. I mean, I was always striving. Anything that I did, I was striving for excellence. A lot of my students actually, during when I was teaching in aviation, were from around the world. Many were from France and Germany and Finland, and they would actually come to Florida to get their various commercial licenses and that sort of thing, because it was cheaper to bring the whole family to the United States and pay for the course than it was to take the course in Europe.
Interesting. Figure.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and you're teaching from physical gymnastics to physical education to flying an airplane. Very, very diverse teaching path, but obviously something that you had a passion for from a very young age, it sounds like.
Indeed, yes.
Well, Sid, I mean, this has been a great story and a great trip down memory lane for all of your great U of M and Olympic memories. This is obviously a tough time for the university. It's a tough time for the world. Kind of as we close this out, from someone who's a national champion for U of M and an Olympian for his country, do you have any positive words of inspiration you want to leave everybody with?
Well, to the alumni, I would say, look, when the air clears, get back to Michigan. Ask an old roommate, a friend who you went to Michigan with. You'd be surprised. They'll jump at the opportunity to go back for a reunion, a homecoming like that. The other thing is for me, I'm connected with school kinesiology. I guess, heartfelt. And I do my best to give a little bit to the school itself. It set me up for life. And I'm extremely grateful for having been given that opportunity. So I've been doing payback pretty much all my years. I've never forgotten really the greatness of Michigan, the kindness, the giving part of the university. I went to school on a scholarship, and over time I'm paying it back as much as I can, and to the students that are there now, golly, don't you have a great opportunity? Use it wisely. You've got a great brand new school of kinesiology. Just take advantage of it. It'll pay off in the future. But remember, every moment that you're there is precious.
Indeed. And you certainly made good use of your time there. And thank you for being such a strong supporter of the School of Kinesiology. Certainly your support is paying off, like the support of many others, in producing this amazing new building and learning environment. So Sid, thank you so much for joining us. It's been fun to learn a lot about you, and go blue.
Go blue indeed. Take care, Mike.
Yep, thanks, Sid.